Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me today. I wanted to bring you the first in a series of videos I hope to make, true stories about some of the things I've seen and heard during my time betting offshore between the years of 2005 to roughly around 2022 or so. So today I bring one of the craziest stories that I've ever witnessed, which is the manipulation of the Puppy Bowl 2017 betting odds. So, a little bit of intro. This took place on a book that was called Five Dimes. It was a book run by someone named Tony, who called himself Tony. In the offshore world, Five Dimes was one of the sharper books. They were willing to take a lot of action. One of the things that they did was really let you bet on anything, including the Puppy Bowl. As I mentioned, Five Dimes was run by someone named Tony. In my experience dealing with him, he was always pretty reasonable. You could ask the customer service people if you had an issue with something they were doing to say instead that you wanted to talk to Tony. So I might have dealt with him once or twice while I was with Five Dimes, always pretty reasonable. A lot of people had a lot of complaints because he would not tolerate any disrespect or anything like that. So a lot of guys would maybe curse at some of the customer service. They'd get transferred to Tony. Tony would close their account, but always pay them out. One of the good things about Five Dimes, as I mentioned, is Five Dimes was a book that really was willing to gamble with you. They were very slow to limit people. They did eventually. Never to me, but to other people I've heard. But they were willing to gamble with you, and they would create really odds on anything. So that brings us to the Puppy Bowl in 2017. So the Puppy Bowl, for those of you who don't know, is a competition of sorts put on by Animal Planet. It's on the same day as the Super Bowl. It involves rescue dogs that they give toys to, and if a dog runs the ball across an end zone, then it counts as points for their team. It's always two teams. Team Rough and Team Fluff. So in 2017, Five Dimes would allow you to bet on the Puppy Bowl. As I tell the story, I'll go through some of the changes in the odds over time. Usually for events like this, what they would do is set a limit of $25. You would bet to win $25. So if the odds were minus 120, you could lay 30 to win 25. If it was a plus money line odds, you would bet 25 to win whatever. You could rebet, so it was not a $25 limit for the entire event, but it would be a limit before the odds change. So you can bet 25, the odds change, you can bet another $25. So not a heavily bet event usually. And that really leads us to our story, which is the odds manipulation of the Puppy Bowl in 2017. So I watched this unfold live at the time, laughing myself about the ridiculousness of people having supposed inside information on the Puppy Bowl. But nevertheless, it happened, it occurred. I went back to the forum that I posted on and pulled the thread from 2017. I put the comments into a Word document just to preserve some of the anonymity of posters. I don't want to violate anybody's privacy for something they may have posted 7 years ago. So I took the comments and put them into a Word document, which let me show that here. Okay. So in 2017, there was a title posted that was called Inside Info on a Game, Not a Troll Thread. And so it was posted at 5:37 p.m. on the 13th of January in 2017. And the poster said, the Puppy Bowl 2017, Team Rough is currently picked at minus 120 at Five Dimes. They said, I know the producers of the show. It was already filmed a while back. Team Rough wins. I would normally just pound this by seeing as they have $25 limits. I'd rather just share this info with the forum to blank Tony in the blank. Got it, boys. So the current price at that point was minus 120 pick on Team Fluff and Team Rough. Again, the limits were $25, but you could rebet when the line changed. So in response to this poster's initial thread, there were a couple of responses, mainly people saying you shouldn't do this, even if you have information, they're going to close your account at 5 dimes, you could get in trouble, everything like that. It's not right to do this. Other posters, thanked them for it, and I would assume started to bet on it. So by 6:29 that night, 6:29 p.m., the price had already moved, and now it was being offered at Team Fluff plus 1.5 minus 120, or Team Rough at minus 1.5 at minus 20. So it moved from really about a 55 or so percent of winning to, if I convert the minus 1.5 using a football spread to money line, converted to about 57% of winning. So already on the move. So the next day, really in the afternoon, it's already moved to 3.5 at minus 115. And this would be the equivalent of a money line of about 235. So about a 70% chance of winning. So a very large move, especially on something small and somewhat random like the Puppy Bowl. So again, posters are continuing to come in, starting to talk about it, starting to note the line movement. More of them apparently jump on board again. I'm watching this happen, but I would never touch the Puppy Bowl to bet on it. So by 117, Team Rough was now minus 6.5, which again, if I converted that using a football converter, is around a minus 336 money line. So about a 77% chance of winning. So really in the course of about 4 days, we moved almost 200 cents, almost about 25% winning chance. So a really large move. This is larger than any movement I've ever seen with baseball. It's bigger than any movement I've really ever seen in any other sport. So usually when booking these events, what they would do is they'd set a random even line like they did initially, which was a pick at minus 120 on both ends. As people bet, they'll adjust the line based on how much people are betting and how frequently. So, thinking of it mentally, really to go from a pick to minus 6, which again is a movement of almost 200 cents in the money line, it would be a lot of one-sided action on Team Rough. So very, very large action, I think, due to this and maybe some other postings around the internet really drove the action on the Puppy Bowl. Remember, we're talking $25 bets. We're not talking something where people are able to lay thousands. So moving on, same day, closes that night on 117 at minus 9 at minus 120. So this is now a 9-point move. In football, this is like unheard of except for drastic injuries. And something like the Puppy Bowl, there's really nothing fundamental that could be driving that. So it is completely driven by people betting on Team Rough over Team Fluff. So a few days later, somebody had posted in the thread the actual odds that were available from 5 dimes at that time. So we have Team Rough at minus 9.5 and Team Fluff at plus 9.5. So again, massive movement. So a couple days later, or actually close to a week later, on 125, so this would be around a week or so before the Puppy Bowl actually took place, we have Team Rough at 12.5. So using a spread to moneyline converter, this would be around a minus 1,307 money line. So giving Team Rough the equivalent winning percentage of 93%, something that's random. So massively inflated money line. I don't think any team of dogs against any other team of dogs in the Puppy Bowl is ever going to have a 93% chance of winning. But based on the action that people took based on this post, they drove the line up to that large amount. So moving on 3 days later, the odds had actually fallen somewhat. Team Rough was at minus 8.5. So definitely a retrancement. People are taking the other side because they've seen how far the money line has moved out of whack. So we get to 1:30. So this is 5 days before the Puppy Bowl. And the original poster came back into the thread. He had been in the thread for the past few days, hyping everyone up about it. And he actually posted an audio recording, a little bit garbled. I don't remember it at the time. I tried to access it now, but it wasn't available. Giving the final score is 78-36 Team Rough. So the thread's a little quiet for a few days. People going back and forth, not sure if they can believe this poster. And then suddenly, the day before the Puppy Bowl on 2/4 of 2017, suddenly the odds have dropped pretty precipitously. And now Team Ruff is close to 200, so plus 200. So now they're being given roughly a 33% chance of win. So we can see that between 128, so a week later, they went from being heavy favorites to heavy dogs. And a lot of the posters in the particular thread were wondering why, everything like that. And it was due to the fact there was a Reddit post that started off free money, insider information. And they said that the event had already happened 2 months ago, and the same producers had told them that Fluff wins. So take the points with Team Fluff. So those people who came from Reddit, which probably at the time was more heavily read than the forum I was posting on, pushed the money line all the way back to even, but heavily favored with Team Fluff. So if we look right the night before, so 2/4 at close to 8 p.m., so the Puppy Bowl is going to start on 2/5. So Team Ruff is now plus 2,000, which is less than a 5% chance of winning. So in the course of really 10 days, we went from a 93% chance of winning to down to a 5% chance of winning. And there's nothing with the Puppy Bowl that's going to cause those large odd fluctuations. It's not like there's going to be an injury, not like, one of the dogs gets injured. Like, there's no way you can handicap this. So completely based on whatever misinformation is being generated around the internet, which is causing these large swings in the odds. So, as you can imagine, the Puppy Bowl starts. Team Fluff destroys Team Ruff, 93-38. As the Puppy Bowl is going on, you have a lot of posters like, oh, what's going on? I included this bet in a bunch of parlays. I bet all this money on it, and what's going on? And so the original poster comes back in. He brags about the whole thing, messing with the odds, and he disappears into the void, leaving frustrated bettors in his wake. So the whole thing was a scam. What had likely happened is this particular poster, maybe a group of posters, had worked together to post different information, and as people bet Team Ruff and moved the odds up, these manipulators bought and bet Team Fluff. On the other side, they post the other, and the odds start to fall, and they cover themselves with Team Ruff to guarantee smaller, pretty large profit, honestly. If they're taking one side at plus 2,000 and they're hedging it with something else that was plus 1,000, plus 900, it's a very large spread. So what did we learn today? So based on this, never trust the information you read on the internet. Always take it with a grain of salt, because people may not have your best interests at hand. But this was one of the craziest and fastest moving set of odds that I ever saw. I avoided it at the time, but it's always been a funny story that I've told people, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. I'd like to keep bringing you this content, so please like and subscribe if you can. I'll try to post these kind of videos relatively frequently. I'll call them Tales from the Offshore. So thanks so much. Have a great day.